Guys, I thought we could do another floor warm-up today. I'm going to start standing and then work our way to the floor and then finish up standing so you can get on with whatever you need to do today that doesn't involve lying down. So, we come to standing and organize your feet in the parallel. And just take a second, close your eyes. Just bring awareness to your breath. Maybe take one hand on the other and place the hands on your breastbone. And send your breath into the back and the sides of your rib cage. Feeling that rising and falling of the ribs with each inhalation and exhalation. And send your breath into your lumbar region, into your abdomen, into your pelvis, expanding across the sacrum, through the hips, and down into the front of the pelvis. Imagine that you can fill your entire pelvic bowl up with air as you inhale. And let's bring awareness to the entire length of the spine. So you can take a finger and place it at the base of the skull, top of the spine, and another finger right down at the tip of your tailbone. And just being aware of these 2 points moving ever so slightly, ever so gently away from each other. So tailbone is dropping down toward the floor as the base of the skull is floating up toward the ceiling. And let's just be aware of the alignment of the head on top of the ribs, on top of the pelvis. We do all sorts of funny things, habitual things with our alignment. But if we can get that base of the skull and tip of the tailbone moving away from each other, and being aware of the 4 curves that we have through the neutral spine, and organizing head on top of ribs, on top of pelvis, sending breath into side and back ribs. And we can bring awareness to this figure 8 of energy, sort of this constant flow of energy. If we begin at the top of the breastbone, and you imagine you have a waterfall that's falling down the front of the breastbone, encouraging it to soften and release across the front of the rib cage. And then when you get to the base of your sternum, allow that line of energy to move on a diagonal down through your abdomen, like a little river going underground. And allow that little waterfall then to come out at the top of your pelvis. So you have waterfall down the front of the breastbone, taking diagonal energy through your body, and then a waterfall coming out at the top of your sacrum and flowing down the back of your sacrum. So with 2 hands, you could just encourage that softening through the front of the breastbone and through the sacrum. And then you want to take that energy and scoop it underneath the pelvic floor, like if you're putting a nappy on, which you wouldn't do, but you know what I mean. And when you get to your pubic bone, then you're zipping up the front of the pelvis. So energy flows down the back, across the bottom of your pelvic floor, and then you zip up the front of the pelvis. And when you get to your belly button, you take that energy up on the diagonal through the center of the body. So you end up with a cross through the center of your body. One line of energy from the base of your sternum down, connecting into the top of your sacrum. And another line of energy from that belly button up on the diagonal and coming out just at the base of the scapula, sort of where your bra strap line would be. And then you take that energy up through the thoracic vertebrae and allow it to spill across the first rib and back down again, across your breastbone. So you've got down the breastbone, diagonal through your body, down the sacrum, across the pelvic floor, zipping up from the pubic bone to the belly button, up on the diagonal through your body, up through thoracic vertebrae and spilling across the top of the rib cage, and that's your figure eight. Now you might say to yourself, if you keep this energy going, down the front, down the back, up the front, up the back, then you may end up collapsing on yourself into a C curve. So what we're going to do is take a little tributary from that spring that's going up through the thoracic vertebrae and send it right up through cervical vertebrae and out the top of your head. So the figure eight continues, and you have this line of energy that goes up through cervical vertebrae out the top of the head to keep that length, which then gets us back to where we started with the base of the skull lengthening up, tailbone folding down in opposition. So playing with that figure eight if and whenever you want to, whether you're standing around washing the dishes or if you're at ballet bar. Let's take a roll down through the spine. And before we roll down, just being aware that you have this width across front and back of the rib cage, width across the clavicles and width in between the scapula. Oftentimes when we're trying to stand up straight, we get those scapula and draw them back behind us like a sort of a military way, like, yes, sir. Yeah, keep the scapula moving apart away from the spine and keep the breastbone opening across the clavicles out into space. So taking the roll down through the spine, releasing the chin onto your breastbone, feeling those cervical vertebrae lengthening into flexion. Soften the breastbone backwards in space to allow the upper thoracic spine to follow into the flexion. Aware that you're keeping your pelvis in a neutral line, 2 hip bones, pubic bone in the same vertical plane, and no grabbing across the glutes. And you're scooping pubic bone to belly button to base of the sternum, as you allow the flexion to continue into the lumbar region. Feeling like you're falling asleep in your soup, so your head is just falling forward in space. And then being aware of that moment where you have to allow the pelvis to fall forward. So you're getting this flexion through the hip sockets, easy, soft sensation through the hips as you fold all the way down over your legs. And upside down, let's just be aware of the weight and how we're distributing across the feet. So take a second and send weight forward into the balls of the feet and all the way back into the heels. Being aware as you're tracking weight forwards and backwards, you've got that lateral and medial arches of the feet, spreading the metatarsals wide on the floor. And come to a place where you feel like the weight is evenly distributed across the feet. Let's make fists with the hands. And with your fists, give your back a little pummel. Just massaging on either side of the spine, encouraging those muscles to lengthen. Pummel over the back of the pelvis and the sides of the pelvis, over the sides of your legs, over the backs of your legs, over the calves. And then let's intertwine the fingers and place the hands on the base of the skull. Relaxing through the shoulder girdle, through the arms, and allowing the weight of the arms and the shoulders to release the weight of the head and gently stretch the muscles on either side of the spine all the way down into the sacrum. Taking some really deep breaths here, send the breath into the areas of your body where you feel the stretch, whether that's up the back of the legs or through into your lumbar. And releasing the arms to roll yourself back up to standing. Soften through the ankle, the knee, and the hip joint to release the legs into flexion. Draw the tailbone down underneath you. So we're not lifting the back up, but you're drawing the tailbone down and the sit bones down the back of the legs. Scooping through the front of the body, you bring your pelvis back into a neutral line. And one vertebrae at a time, lengthen the spine all the way back up to neutral. Take a minute there, inhale, intertwine the fingers, press the palms up toward the ceiling. You can let the shoulder blades slide all the way up towards your ears. You can splay the ribs if you want to. And maybe stretch alternating waistline so that as you drop one hip down, you lift that side of the rib cage away, drop the other hip down, lift the other side of the rib cage away. And then coming to stand neutral and give yourself a little shower. Inhaling, arms up. Grab the sky, pull it down, exhale, and give yourself a little energetic shower. Inhale up, grab the sky, pull it down, exhale, and take a little shake. So you're standing with weight equal on both feet. You take a little pulse from the feet. You're not jumping, keeping the heels in contact with the floor, not releasing them. And it's almost like you're on a little trampoline, like the soles of the feet are a little trampoline and you're just taking a little bounce, 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 and allow that vibration to move up through easy joints of the body, through an easy skeleton. So through the ankle, the knee, the hip socket, through all the all the vertebrae in your spine. Being aware of the little air mattresses. We talked about this in one of our other little videos. If you imagine your intervertebral discs to be like little air mattresses, so that in between each vertebrae, you've got a little air mattress, so you can allow the vertebrae to be sort of trampolining, jumping in the bed, as it were. And keeping that easy feeling going all the way through the top of the spine, so you feel the skull just jiggling on the top of your spine, like a little wooden puppet head jiggling on the top of your spine. Shoulders are easy, arms are easy, and that vibration translates all the way down through your hands. And slowing that down. Coming back to standing with straight legs to take another roll down. And so again, releasing the chin onto the breastbone, softening the breastbone back in space, scooping through the abdominals, peeling them back onto your spine, keeping your arms just like ropes hanging off the side of your body, no tension, allowing the pelvis to turn over on the top of the legs, and bringing yourself all the way down to hang over straight legs again. Upside down, you shake your head no. And you nod your head, yes. Releasing the back of the neck. And then relaxing your face by fluttering your lips on the exhalation. So there's no tension at all through your mouth. And let's take a little bend through the left leg. So softening through the hip, knee, and the ankle. Placing the left palm on the floor and opening the left arm toward the sky. So allowing the rib cage just to soften into the rotation. Inhaling to exhale, soften the arm and relax back down onto the other side. And so you're bending through the right leg, softening hip, knee, and ankle. Feeling that opening on the left side of your pelvis, taking the right palm to the floor and inhaling your left arm up to the sky. Softening, easing into that rotation through the rib cage. And exhaling to release down. Just taking that one more time on either side. So softening through the left leg, weight through the left palm, and opening your right arm up toward the ceiling. And we can go for a little swim here. If you soften through the shoulder, release the arm down, reach it out, and opening into the rotation, and softening through the shoulder, release the arm down, reaching out in front of you, and opening into the rotation, and release it down. Stretching that left leg, softening through the joints of the right leg, watching you're holding parallel, so not allowing that right knee to fall toward the center line. Placing right palm on the floor and opening the left arm up toward the sky. And going for a swim, softening through the shoulder, releasing the arm down, reaching it out in front of you, and circling around, softening through the shoulder, releasing the arm down, reaching it out in front of you, and opening to the sky. And relaxing all the way down.
Rolling yourself back up to standing, softening through the ankle, the knee, the hip socket. Keep those knees flowing forward in space as you drop the sit bone and tailbone down, scooping through the front of the body to bring yourself all the way back up to standing. Let's intertwine the fingers behind your back. And you're going to release the backs of the hands toward the floor. Draw your shoulder blades together toward your spine. Open the breastbone and the clavicles on the front of the body and just release the breastbone up toward the ceiling. Be careful here that you're not crunching in your lumbar, so you feel that your pelvis stays right on top of your feet in a neutral alignment, 2 hip bones, pubic bone in the same vertical plane. And you make as much space as you can through the lumbar vertebrae to then release the thoracic spine into the extension. And from there, maintaining that extension through the upper thoracic spine and allowing yourself to fall forward over your legs as the backs of the hands reach up toward the sky and over your head toward the earth. So getting a little stretch here through the shoulders, across the front of the chest. And you can soften into that left leg, so releasing again the ankle, the knee, and the hip socket, and allowing the ribcage to spiral open to the right as the hands tick-tock clock around to the left side. And coming back through center, stretching that left leg. Softening into the right leg and allowing the ribcage to open to the left as the hands tick-tock around to the right. And coming back to center and stretching that right leg. Really hike your sit bones up toward the ceiling as you ground your heels into the floor. Releasing the hands. And releasing the legs, coming down into a crouch position. Just relax your head between your knees. Release through the joints of the legs. Release the pelvis back onto your heels. And really feel the weight of the pelvis there, which allows you to flex deeply and softly through the hip sockets. Rocking weight forward onto the knees. And then just adjust yourself on your mat if you need to. And come into a child's pose, and we'll do our cat. So inhaling here, expanding the back of the rib cage, sending breath into the lumbar, sending breath into the back of the pelvis. As you exhale, fingers reach past the toes, stretching the arms, circling the arms all the way around your body, until they're parallel to each other, reaching alongside your head. Allow the shoulders to slide up towards your ears. Fingertips are reaching to the front of the room as the sit bones reach back toward the heels. And then slide the palms forward along the floor, lengthening into extension through the spine. Spread the fingers really wide on the floor. Drop the breastbone down toward the floor, open through the armpits. Open the sit bones, send them away from each other and up toward the sky. Inhaling to exhale and scooping through the front body, bringing face and pubic bone towards each other as you lengthen up into the flexion through the spine. Inhaling into the back body, exhale, releasing into your extension. Here from the extension, we'll take an inhale, and on an exhale, you take half a circle with the top of the head and the tip of the tailbone around to the right and back into the flexion. Inhaling into the extension. Exhaling half a circle around to the left and back to the flexion. Inhaling to extend, initiating the extension from the tailbone. Exhaling top of the head and the tailbone simultaneously into the flexion. And inhaling into the extension, grounding the base of the index finger. Exhaling half a circle around into the flexion. Holding your flexion and releasing the sit bones back onto the heels to relax into your child's pose again, leaving the arms alongside your head. On the inhale, lift your face to look towards your hands. We're going to open the elbows, sliding between the hands with extension through the spine. Draw the shoulders away from the ears, keeping that extension going. Inhaling up to your up dog, keeping the width between the shoulder blades, so be careful you're not collapsing between the scapula. Drawing the scapula away from the ears, opening across the front body, opening those clavicles nice and wide. And then to release down, bending the elbows, releasing the front body to the floor. You take your sit bones, tailbone up toward the ceiling, pressing into the hands to release back onto your heels. Let's do that again. So lift the face to look toward the hands, open the elbows, sliding between the hands with flex extension through the spine. Keep the extension going all the way into your up dog. Inhaling at the top, exhaling, releasing elbows. Now keep that belly button lengthening back toward the spine, peeling the abdominals back toward the spine. You release the sit bones up toward the sky. Slide the breastbone back along the floor to release back onto your heels. Let's do it one more time. Inhaling to look forward between the hands, sliding through to the up dog. And releasing elbows, lifting sit bones to slide back onto your heels. Let's release the forehead to the floor. Circle the arms alongside your body. Take a second and relax. And let's roll ourselves up to sitting. So release the sit bones toward the heels. Keep your head falling asleep in your soup. Flexion through the spine and organizing one vertebrae at a time to roll yourself back up into the vertical. So if we come to sitting, just take a second, soles of the feet facing each other, hold on to your toes, take a little rock sideways, little seesaw motion, grounding one sit bone and then the other. And then come to center. And let's take one foot on top of the other, foot on top of ankle, ankle on top of knee, knee on top of ankle, all that jazz. So this is left leg on top of right leg. You've got your left ankle on top of your right knee and your left knee on top of your right ankle. Yeah, so crossed over. If that's not comfortable for you, just do a normal cross-legged position, that's fine. And we'll just take a little side bend. So taking your left palm flat on the floor, and we'll take a little reach up and over with that right arm, circling forward over the legs to open to the other side. So whether you want to take your forearm to the floor or the palm, doesn't matter, but we want to get length up and over in the flexion and the side bend, circling forward and opening up. And softening forward and opening up and softening forward. Left palm or left forearm to the floor as you open and breathe through the right rib cage and lengthening forward and opening up to the right side and breathing into the left rib cage. Coming back through center. Let's take the fingertips on the floor and incy-wincy spider walk them forward to release all the way forward over your legs. So whether you end up with fingertips on the floor, palms on the floor, forearms on the floor, armpits on the floor, whatever works for you, softening into the stretch. So no yanking, no pulling, no pushing, no resistance, no tearing, no tension through the face. Just an easy softening release into the stretch and send your breath into the places where you feel a little expansion. rolling yourself all the way back up to sitting. Take the sole of that left foot and place it on the floor and draw the right heel in. And we'll just take a little bit of a spinal twist. So the right arm is going to hug the left knee. As you hug, don't go into the spinal twist yet. Keep both shoulders facing forwards and lift yourself right up on top of your sit bone. So chances are when you hug that knee in, you might end up back here where you're sitting behind your sit bones. You can take the palm of the left hand onto your sacrum and lift that sacrum up and forward, ground that left sit bone, soften into the left hip socket, so you're sitting right up on top of your pelvis. And we're gonna go for a swim again. That seems to be the theme. Inhaling, arm up, and exhaling, swiping down behind you, scooping space, inhaling up, exhaling into the spinal twist, and inhaling up, and exhaling into the spinal twist. So we can stay here with the fingertips on the floor and then switch your right elbow to the outside of your left leg, lengthening through the spine. So imagine you can inflate those little air mattresses between your vertebrae so that we don't twist and crunch down on ourselves, but we're lengthening the spine to lengthen into the twist. If you want to stretch that arm out, that might feel good. Stretch out the right arm. So the pressure of arm against leg and leg against arm to keep you lengthening into the twist. And then if you want to here, you can make circles with your eyeballs. Biggest circles with your eyeballs that you can. And then reverse the circles with your eyeballs. And come back through center. Take a little counter stretch. So taking both palms to the floor on the right side, just releasing your forehead to the floor. And coming back up to center, we'll do one more with this right leg on the top. Let's take knee on top of knee, if that feels good for you. And then once again, the incy-wincy spider through the fingers to lengthen forward over your legs. And that'll give you a slightly different stretch through the back and through your back of your pelvis and into the outside of that left thigh, maybe in the right thigh as well. Keep the energy flowing out through the top of the head so you're lengthening the spine. And then gently roll yourself all the way back up to sitting. And take a second, release your legs, give them a little shake. And we'll go on the other side. So starting with the ankle on top of knee and the knee on top of ankle, we have the right leg on top of the left leg. Both sit bones grounding into the floor. And we'll take our little palm tree in a gentle breeze, lengthening up and over to the right side. Sending breath into the left side of the rib cage. And swinging forward over the legs and opening up, breathing into the right side of the rib cage. And through center, inhaling up. And exhaling over the legs, and inhaling up, and exhaling over the legs, and inhaling up, and exhaling over the legs, and inhaling up. Take a second there, more breath into the right side of the rib cage, and lengthening back up to center. So we'll take the sole of the right foot, place it on the floor on the outside of the left thigh, bend that leg so you end up with heel next to sit bone or as close thereto as possible. With your left arm, you hug your right knee. And once again, be careful that you don't end up pushing yourself back behind your sit bones. So take your right hand onto your sacrum, lift your sacrum up and forward in space, and ground that right sit bone into the floor. Lengthen the spine so the base of the skull is lengthening away from your tailbone. And we go for a swim with that right arm. So inhaling up and exhaling, spinal twist. Inhaling, scoop the space, send it up. Exhaling, painting the back wall behind you. Inhaling up. Making as much space between the lumbar vertebrae as you can as you lengthen into the spinal twist. Again, making sure you haven't gone behind your sit bones. Take your left arm on the outside of that right thigh. Stretch your arm if that feels good, or keep it bent. Take that twist that's spiraling all the way up into the top of the spine. And we make circles with the eyeballs, biggest circles you can with the eyeballs, almost like if you're vacuuming out the dust from underneath your eyelids. Not that you have dusty eyelids, I'm sure, if you've been blinking. Circle the eyeballs in the opposite direction. Biggest circles you can. And release. Come back through center. Take a little counter twist. Allow your body to drop over to the left side. Bring your forehead to the floor. Then coming back up through center. And one more little stretch here. Knee on top of knee now. Get yourself right on top of those sit bones. And incy wincy spider through the fingertips to lengthen all the way forward over your legs. Energy out the top of the head, energy out the tailbone in opposition, nice long spine. Send the breath into the sides of the ribs. Expand the ribs laterally as you inhale. And as you exhale, really soften into the hip sockets. Feed the femurs back into the hip sockets. And roll yourself all the way back up to sitting. Let's release the legs and take a little shake through the legs again. Oh, why don't we do that? So drawing your legs through a little double attitude, just circling the femurs and the hip sockets. That's feeling good to me right now. And then reverse the circles in the opposite direction. Be aware as you do that you can kind of do it with this constant muscular activation, control, or you can do it with a real sense of ease and release through the joints. So decide what you need, maybe play with them both, and one for ease and release through my joints. All right, why don't we do this since we were doing some side bending? Take the legs into a pretty small second position so that your feet are just a little bit wider than your shoulders. Now, as you reach the heels away from the sit bones, let's be careful that we're not grabbing through the quads and locking the knees, right, and popping those heels up off the floor. So keep the heels on the floor, reach them away from you. Obviously, sit bones stay on the floor and reach in the opposite direction. So you're opening through the back of the leg without creating any tension through the front of the leg. We're going to intertwine those fingers behind the head. And as we had just now, just check out that you've got head on top of ribs on top of pelvis. So you're not pitching yourself forward. You're not tucking the pelvis. You're not leaning yourself back in space, right? So it's almost like you had 3 Christmas decorations all joined together by a string, and I know it's March, so maybe Easter decorations. So one hanging on top of the other, no unnecessary displacement through that vertical line. So the hands are intertwined behind your head, and we're going to take a little side bend, keeping the flexion through the feet. So on the exhalation, carving around to the left, you're bringing your left elbow to the floor on the outside of the left knee. And that right elbow is trying to open up and point up to the sky. And with that reach through the right elbow, on the inhale, you bring yourself back up to the vertical line. So it's exhaling to side bend. Now the right elbow comes to the floor on the outside of the right knee, and it's the left elbow that's trying to open up toward the ceiling. You'll get a nice old stretch through the left side of your lumbar here. Reach out through the top of your head, ground through the left sit bone to come back up. And we go over left elbow to the floor, right elbow reaching up toward the ceiling, ground that right sit bone. Inhale, energy out through the top of the head to recover to sitting. Exhale. So there's a little spiral and then the side bend. Reaching up through the left elbow. Inhale, spine is getting longer. Ground the sit bones. Exhale. Elbow to the floor, spiraling up to the ceiling. And last time, spiral over into the side bend. Exhale, elbow to the floor. Inhale, lifting up through the left elbow to come back to center. Relax your arms for a second. Maybe open into a wide second position and just have a little stretch. And then we'll do another little exercise in that small second position. So take a little stretch, whatever feels good to you in your second position. Okay, and then come back to that small second position again. We'll just add another little movement onto that side bend that we just had. So we go exhaling, left elbow to the floor on the outside of the left knee, inhaling, and you take the right elbow to the floor on the inside of the left knee, opening that elbow back up toward the ceiling and reaching up to come back to the vertical. Exhale over. Inhale, send the breath into the back of the rib cage. Exhale, lengthen the spine. Inhale, back up to sitting. Exhaling, spiral side bend. Ground the right sit bone as you lengthen over the left leg. Opening the elbow back up toward the ceiling and energy out the top of the head. You might be feeling a little bit of love happening through your obliques as you sequence through this. Left elbow's going to open back up toward the ceiling. Energy up the top of the head. Let's keep scooping the abdominals back toward the spine. So whether you're going into the side bend, lengthening into that flexion, opening back up to the side bend, reaching up to the vertical, you have this constant feeling of zipping up from the pubic bone to the belly button to the base of the sternum. And open the elbow and lengthen back up. Let's just do one more time on either side. Exhaling over. Inhaling, close. Exhaling, open, and inhaling to recover. Last time. Exhaling over. Inhaling, close. Exhaling, open, and inhaling back up. Release the arms. Take another stretch to a nice wide second position. And roll yourself all the way back up to sitting. Shake those legs out a little bit. Let's leave that alone and roll ourselves down to lying. Let's go this way. So soles of the feet are flat on the floor. Legs are in the parallel. Arms are reaching forward. Exhaling, breath out of the mouth. Pull back just above the pubic bone to roll yourself all the way down to lying. And as that head hits the floor, the arms are going to keep going up toward the ceiling and lengthen back alongside your head, being careful to keep the spine in a neutral line. So the arms don't have to touch the floor. Only go as far as your shoulders will allow, your shoulder flexibility will allow, so you can maintain the neutral spine. Float the arms back up toward the ceiling, and as they start to reach forward toward your knees, draw the shoulders away from the ears, head, neck, and shoulders lengthen off the floor. Lumbar curve is neutral for as long as you can, like when we were rolling down from standing in the beginning. And then there's a moment where you release the lumbar curve to the floor. So you take your little scoop through the front of the pelvis, take your fingertips to the back of the legs, keep scooping through the front body. So you're scooping ice cream, there's no bread in the oven. So activating abdominals back toward the spine to roll yourself all the way up to sitting, and we'll go again. Exhaling, super scoop through the front body. Bring the face and pubic bone towards each other, same as you did in the cat exercise. Releasing the rib cage, keeping the front of the body soft as you release the head to the floor. Float the arms up toward the ceiling and lengthen them back alongside your head as far as you can go without displacing your ribs, so you keep the lower rib dropping down towards your hips. And then floating the arms back up toward the ceiling, reaching forward toward the knees, head, neck, and shoulders off the floor, holding over the back of the legs if you need to. Release the lumbar curve to the floor. Keep scooping through the front body as you keep the flexion through the spine to roll yourself all the way back up. Let's go one more time. Exhaling, breath out of your mouth. Lengthening into the flexion, softening front body back in space to release all the way down. As the head hits the floor, float the arms up toward the ceiling, lengthen them back alongside your head without displacing your rib cage. Exhaling, reaching the arms forward, head, neck, and shoulders off the floor, and we'll pause. So you hang your carrot or your brownie or your broccoli or your freshly baked bread, whatever it is, right here. And you keep coming forward towards it without releasing your lumbar curve to the floor. So lumbar curve stays neutral, pelvis stays neutral, and the job is that you love your freshly baked bread or your broccoli, but you can never really reach it because you're not going to release the lumbar curve from the floor. Arms are lengthening alongside your head, and they circle around. There's no displacement through the spine. Spine stays exactly where it is. Inhale, arms alongside the head. Exhale to circle. Love the earthquake. Inhale, arms alongside the head. Exhale to circle. Embrace the vibration. Inhale, arms alongside the head. Exhale to circle. Last time, keep the energy reaching out through the tailbone. Inhale, arms alongside the head. Exhale to circle. Draw the legs in, relax. Make circles with the knees in opposite directions, so just stirring the femur and the hip socket. And as you do that, you can release the lumbar curve on the floor and then roll back into your neutral pelvis. And then circle the knees in the opposite direction. So allow them to fall away, draw them up under the armpits, draw them together, and they fall away again. Okay. So with the arms at your sides, pelvis is neutral. We'll keep the knees relaxed so the heels are hanging out by the sit bones. We're going to imagine that there's a clock on the face of your abdomen. I'll drop my feet for a second just to explain. So you're going to put 12 o'clock at the base of your sternum, and then drawing a clockwise circle, you go to the right, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and you're, well, I'm being your mirror, but that wouldn't be right, would it? No, so I shouldn't be your mirror. So as you go to your left, you're going clockwise. So 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock is gonna be on your left hip, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock is on the pubic bone, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock is on your right hip, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, that goes up and under your rib cage, hello liver, and back underneath your breastbone to 12, yeah? In the center of your abdomen, you have a little marble. And depending on how you roll your pelvis around, you're rolling your marble around to the different numbers on your clock. Yeah? Okay. So we're lying down. Why don't we just play with that first with the feet on the floor? So if your feet are on the floor in the parallel, your marble is in the center of your clock. If you want to roll your marble towards 12 o'clock, on an exhalation, you release the lumbar curve to the floor. So you're scooping abdominals back toward your spine. Your marble starts to roll towards the base of your breastbone. Keep the marble rolling around to the left side until you get it on your left hip. That'll be 3 o'clock. So when that marble is on your left hip, your right hip is popped up toward the sky and your left hip is dropping down like a little seesaw over to the left. You inhale across the bottom half of your circle, rolling through 4, 5 to 6. When you're at 6, you have an anterior tilt to your pelvis, so the marble is rolling down towards your pubic bone. You roll around 7, 8 to 9. When you get to 9, your right hip is dropping to the floor, your left hip is popping up toward the ceiling. You exhale 10, 11, and back to 12, where your marble is rolling toward the base of your sternum. If we go anti-clockwise to the right, you have 11, 10, 9. You inhale through 6 and all the way to 3, and you exhale to scoop back towards 12. So you can keep your feet on the floor and do clockwise and anti-clockwise circles a few times for yourself. It's quite a small range of motion through the pelvis. Really just bringing awareness to those subtle shifts away from neutral, where those places are. Remember, whenever you're on the top half of your clock, where your pelvis is in a tucked position, you're exhaling. Whenever you're on the bottom half of your clock, you're inhaling. I'll just do it with the feet off the floor. So if you have both feet off the floor, ankles together, knees together, exhaling, super scoop to 12. Keep exhaling, 1, 2, 3, inhaling, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Exhale, scoop, 10, 11, 12. One more time, going clockwise, 3. Keeping the shoulder blades open on the floor. So keep weight through both scapula as the pelvis is rolling. And keep exhaling around to 12. Pause. Keep energy out the top of your head as you go, so that we don't have the head doing a circle, just the pelvis. Let's go twice anti-clockwise. So from your 12, you exhale 11, 10, 9. This is on your right hip. Inhaling through 6. Keep inhaling to 3 on your left hip. Exhale, super scoop to 12. Keep exhaling all the way to the right hip. That's 9. Inhaling through 6. Keep inhaling over to 3 and exhaling to 12. Hold over the knees. Pull the knees all the way onto your chest. And then release the knees into your hands. Draw the shoulders away from the ears, head, neck, and shoulders off the floor. With flexion through your spine, you make yourself into a little rocking chair. And you rock the baby to sleep. Open your eyes and make sure that you're scooping through the front body. So scooping the ice cream and not allowing the bread to pop out in the oven. No bread rising in the oven. I actually do have some bread proofing upstairs. Ha ha. So rock yourself all the way up to sitting, and we'll take the roll down with straight legs. So having this feeling again of the heels and the sit bones moving away from each other without any tension through the quadriceps or through the knees. Reaching arms forward in space, exhaling out of your mouth, pull back just above your pubic bone. Keep the legs reaching out of the hip sockets, femurs moving out of the hip sockets. You bring your pelvis to a neutral line in the horizontal. You notice you cannot get your lumbar curve to the floor, so you release the back of the ribcage to the floor and then open. Release the head to the floor. Let's take that lengthening through the top of the lat muscle again as you lengthen the arms alongside your head. And then circle the arms around as the arms reach forward, head, neck, and shoulders off the floor. Now getting up with straight legs is quite hard. Well, not hard. It's a little bit more challenging than when you have your legs bent. So if it feels like it's too much, don't do it. If you want to try, really important that you draw back, front body back in space. So if you try to get it like this, by moving your front body forward, feel the whole spine just sort of popped off the floor and the abdominals popped away from center. So you want to keep scooping abdominals back toward the spine. Have this feeling that those bones of your pelvis are drawing toward the center of your pelvis. So everything is moving toward the center line. Just beneath your breastbone, you got to pull that back in space, soften it back in space to release through the thoracic spine. Then once you get past that icky place, a super scoop so you can flex through the lumbar spine to roll yourself all the way over your legs. Just take a little stretch there. Hold over your toes or your ankles or your shins or your knees, doesn't matter. And just take a little walk through the pelvis. And roll yourself all the way back up to sitting. I think let's just finish with a little hip flexor stretch. So if you come up to your all fours, take your right foot in front of you, or your left, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's my right foot. So we have the knee directly on top of the ankle. So careful we're not here, yeah? Knee directly on top of the ankle. Spread the toes really wide on the floor. That left leg is reaching out behind you. And bring attention to the pubic bone. So I can hang out in a lunge like this, and there's kind of nothing going on. But if that pubic bone can drop forward and down on the diagonal. So I'm drawing the pubic bone down on the diagonal, forward in space. And at the same time, this left hip, this left iliac crest, is moving up and back in space. So pubic bone is going forward and down in space, iliac crest up and back in space. And that's how we get some delicious opening through the hip flexor. So breathing there and keeping those two lines of energy moving. Pubic bone forward and down in space, iliac crest up and back in space. Energy out the top of the head. And then let's tuck those back toes under. And we're going to reach the heel away from the sit bone. Left heel reaching away from the sit bone without releasing this falling of the pubic bone forward and down in space. So we don't want to go here and pop up. Pelvis stays where it is and the heel reaches away. Pelvis stays where it is, heel reaches away. Pelvis is heavy and softening, surrendering down, and the heel is reaching away. And you might not be able to stretch that back leg, doesn't matter. So long as you've got a nice stretch with the hip flexors. Let's do energy out the top of the head, energy out the heel, super scoop through the abdominals, send the right leg back to meet the left. And just take a second here, maybe walk right to left through the hands. Organize yourself in your plank position. A lot of energy through those heels and a lot of energy out through the top of the head. Make sure that we don't have sit bones reaching up toward the ceiling, collapsing through the lumbar, or too much flexion tension through the thoracic spine. Neutral spine. Legs reaching out behind you and arms reaching out in front of you. Not in front of you, underneath you, I guess. Or in front of you, because we're looking at the floor. Left leg comes forward, and let's lunge on the other side. So the knee is directly on top of the ankle. Ground the heel, spread the metatarsals and the toes. Right leg is out behind you. Pubic bone is dropping down and forward on the diagonal, and that right iliac crest is moving up and back in space. Pubic bone down and forward on the diagonal, iliac crest up and back in space. You're opening through the right hip flexors. Energy out the top of the head. Keeping that width and ease across the clavicles. And bringing the palms to the floor so you can tuck the back toe under and reach the heel away from the sit bone. So right heel reaches away from the right sit bone, but the pubic bone keeps dropping down and forward on the diagonal. So just gently, easily increasing that stretch to the right hip flexors. And then allowing the pelvis to move up in space. You have room to lengthen that left leg back, coming back into your plank position. And if you're feeling frisky, we go right forearm to the floor, left forearm to the floor. Right palm to the floor, left palm to the floor. Left forearm to the floor, right forearm to the floor. Still with a neutral spine. Left palm to the floor, right palm to the floor. Lengthen back into your down dog. Walk your feet. Open through the back of the legs. Move that pelvis up and back in space. Sit bones reaching up and back in space as the top of the head is falling down toward the floor. Spread the fingers wide and ground the base of the index finger. Spread all 10 metatarsals on the floor. Walk your feet forward towards your hands. Hang over straight legs and fold your arms. So you fold your arms as if you're standing up, being crossed, or whatever you do when you fold your arms, nothing else to do with them. So that the hand is relaxing inside of the opposite elbow. Drawing your elbows down toward the floor, shoulder blades slide up towards your ears. Nice long stretch through the back. And release the arms. Take a little bend through the legs, softening the ankle, the knee, the hip socket. Draw the sit bones down the back of the legs. Draw the tailbone down underneath you. Keep your knees sliding forward on the escalator. Scoop through the front of the body. Lengthen through that lumbar spine to bring yourself back up to standing. Easy breath there. And why don't we just take a little swing? Woo-hoo. Easy little swing rotation, spinal twist. Let your arms be pieces of rope, pieces of wet spaghetti, cooked spaghetti on the sides of your body. Keep the feet open wide, grounding into the floor. Let your eyes go with you into the twist so that you're looking way back over your shoulder. And then letting that momentum just decrease. So the twist gets a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller. And coming to center. The legs are still bent. Sort of suction cup those feet into the floor. And slowly open the joints, the ankle, the knees, the hips, so that you easy stretch the legs. The pelvis is just floating up on a little elevator in space so that you come to standing with straight legs but without any tension. And just rock your weight forwards and backwards a little bit, like we did when we were hanging upside down at the beginning. Notice when you pitch your weight too far forward, you get muscular tension. And when you pitch your weight too far back, muscular tension, to stop yourself from falling over. So just slowly decrease that pendulum swing until you can find a place where you're standing with minimal muscular tension. Minimal muscular tension. So when we are working towards our neutral postural pattern, that place is a place where we are standing with minimal muscular tension. So you've got your skeleton organized in the vertical in a standing posture, and you've got postural muscles that you need to keep your skeleton from just collapsing into a heap of bones on the floor. But there's a bunch of other muscles that we sort of fire habitually all throughout the day with tension, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical tension. And we want that muscular tension to drop away, that unnecessary muscular activation to drop away, so that the standing
posture is one of ease and balance. No holding, no tension. And then the breath can flow in and out of the body easily without disturbing that postural pattern. Okie dokie. Thank you for coming to play. See you soon.